Multiple Arctic invasions targeting the American Midwest. Bone-chilling cold, unlike anything seen in years. Question: how is this possible in early winter? The answer involves polar vortex displacement. Direct from the North Pole with no modification. Temperatures 50 degrees below normal for December. Wind chills approaching minus 45 degrees across the northern plains states. That's cold enough to freeze exposed skin in under 10 minutes of exposure. Frostbite becomes inevitable for anyone caught outside without proper protection. Hypothermia can set in within 20 minutes at these extreme temperature levels. Car engines won't start regardless of battery condition. Diesel fuel turns to gel in storage tanks. Entire cities may shut down for multiple days as basic infrastructure fails completely. The economic disruption will ripple across the entire national economy. Stock markets could tumble from weather-related supply chain collapses in America's heartland. Insurance claims will reach record-breaking levels, not seen since the polar vortex of 2014. It's happening 30 miles above the Earth right now, and it's about to flip the entire weather pattern. This could be the most expensive cold weather event in Midwest history. Question: what's the long-range forecast beyond next week? Extended models show this pattern persisting through January. We're experiencing what typically happens in late January occurring in early December. This suggests the real deep winter could bring unprecedented extremes never recorded. Meteorologists are running out of adjectives to describe what they're seeing in the data. Historic, extreme, unprecedented. Terms used so often they're losing meaning in weather broadcasts. But this genuinely represents a different category of winter weather for the American Midwest. Remember, it's only early December. Most harsh winter weather doesn't arrive until January. We're experiencing peak winter conditions 6 weeks ahead of the normal schedule. Like Christmas arriving in October, nature's calendar has been completely disrupted. But here's the twist nobody's talking about. This same setup brought the freeze of 1996. This is your final warning to avoid all unnecessary travel starting this afternoon. Work-from-home policies should be implemented immediately by all regional businesses. School districts must make closure decisions today, not Sunday night or Monday morning. Emergency services may not be able to respond for hours during whiteout conditions. Your survival may depend on the preparations you make in the next 12 hours. Don't wait for official emergency declarations. They may come too late to help you. Generator sales have increased 400% in the last 24 hours. Hardware stores can't keep ice melt in stock. Gas stations are already reporting fuel shortages as demand surges beyond supply capacity. ATMs will run out of cash when people realize credit cards don't work without electricity. Store shelves will be empty by Sunday evening as panic buying reaches critical levels. When Chicago saw minus 27 degrees for 3 straight days. When Minneapolis recorded minus 35-degree wind chills. The final piece of this catastrophic puzzle is the recovery timeline after each storm. With 3 major Arctic invasions in rapid succession, there's no opportunity for cleanup between events. Snow will accumulate higher and higher, creating impassable barriers around communities. Some neighborhoods won't see snowplows for weeks due to equipment failures and extreme cold. Residents will become prisoners in their own homes for extended periods throughout December. Mail delivery suspended indefinitely in the hardest-hit rural areas. Online deliveries facing massive delays and cancellations extending through New Year's week. Christmas presents ordered online may not arrive until February due to transportation breakdowns. Retailers are already warning customers about shipping disruptions lasting months. If you haven't completed Christmas shopping, today is your absolute last opportunity. When heating costs doubled across the Midwest, the economic impact exceeded $15 billion. This Arctic invasion is just beginning to unfold across America's heartland states. Tomorrow brings exclusive satellite footage of the polar vortex splitting apart. Plus, which specific neighborhoods in Chicago and Minneapolis face the greatest danger from Tuesday's superfreeze? And how solar minimum cycles are amplifying this cold by weakening upper atmosphere heating. Don't miss tomorrow's emergency briefing. Your family's survival depends on this critical information. The next 72 hours will determine how severe this winter catastrophe becomes for millions. Stay prepared, stay informed, and we'll be back tomorrow with life-saving updates. Remember, this is only the beginning of the most dangerous December in decades. And that was in 1996 money. Multiply by 3 today. Right now, let's examine the immediate timeline. Storm development begins this afternoon. Heavy snow starting in the Dakotas and Minnesota. By 6 p.m. tonight, Des Moines will be under 4 inches, with rates accelerating rapidly. Midnight brings the storm to Chicago and Milwaukee. Morning commute Monday will be catastrophic. Here's what I promise at the 3-minute mark. Satellite data shows unprecedented Arctic dome fracturing. Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, all in the crosshairs. Temperatures plunging 40 degrees below normal. The polar vortex is splitting into multiple pieces. Each piece becomes a separate Arctic invasion. 3 factors are creating perfect storm conditions never recorded in modern meteorological history. Factor 1, abnormal jet stream positioning. Factor 2, strengthening polar vortex circulation. Factor 3, blocking high-pressure patterns. When these 3 align, meteorological chaos. The last time we saw this combination was 1978, the Great Blizzard that paralyzed the Midwest. 18 inches of snow in Chicago in 12 hours. Entire interstate highways shut down for days. Question: how will this affect modern infrastructure? Transportation systems could face total shutdown. O'Hare Airport may close for days, not hours. Interstate highways could become death traps. But here's what makes this setup even more dangerous. It's happening in rapid succession, not isolated events. Each Arctic blast reinforces the previous one, building a foundation of permanent sub-zero cold. Chicago could see minus 10 degrees. Minneapolis faces minus 25. But here's what the models aren't telling you. Snow accumulation forecast shows devastating totals. Northern Iowa, 8 to 12 inches from today's system alone. Southern Minnesota, 6 to 10 inches expected. Wisconsin, 4 to 8 inches across the southern counties. But these numbers pale in comparison to what's coming with the second and third waves. Tuesday's system could dump another 6 to 12 inches on top of weekend totals across the same regions. Some locations near Minneapolis could see 18 inches from the second wave alone. Snow removal crews won't have time to clear between events. Salt supplies already running critically low. Emergency shelters opening in anticipation of widespread power grid failures. But there's an even bigger story developing beneath the surface. Long-range computer models show this pattern persisting. 20 different weather models running scenarios. 18 of them show the same terrifying outcome. This Arctic siege could last through New Year's Day, multiple storm cycles targeting the same devastated areas. This isn't just one storm, it's a pattern. A relentless Arctic siege lasting weeks. But here's the cruel twist in this weather story. Each wave brings colder air than the last, like stacking ice cubes in a freezer that never defrosts. Question: what triggers these ancient patterns? Scientists believe it's connected to solar activity cycles. We're currently in a solar minimum period. Reduced sunspot activity weakens upper atmospheric heating. This allows polar air masses to expand beyond normal boundaries. Combined with La Niña cooling in the Pacific Ocean. When these forces combine, explosive cold development. Chicago residents face a brutal reality check. By tomorrow morning, temperatures crash to minus 10 degrees. Wind chills could reach minus 25 degrees across the greater Chicago metropolitan area. That's cold enough to freeze exposed skin in less than 15 minutes. Car batteries will fail. Diesel fuel crystallizes. Natural gas demand could overwhelm supply systems. The economic impact will be staggering. Billions in lost productivity from transportation shutdowns. Think of it like icebergs breaking off a glacier, except these frozen air masses are headed for your neighborhood. Supply chains could snap under the pressure. Christmas deliveries facing massive delays. Airlines already canceling flights preemptively. 5,000 cancellations expected this weekend alone. Midway and O'Hare airports could shut down completely if wind chills drop below minus 30 degrees. But here's something even more alarming. This pattern matches paleoclimatic data from the 1800s. The Little Ice Age atmospheric mechanics that brought decades of brutal winters. Obviously, we're not entering another ice age, but the jet stream patterns are remarkably similar. Arctic air flowing freely into populated areas, like a frozen river with no barriers. Right now, let's examine the hour-by-hour breakdown. Heavy snow begins in Minneapolis around 2 p.m. Central Time. By 4 p.m., Des Moines sees snowfall rates reaching 2 inches per hour. 8 p.m. tonight brings blizzard conditions to Cedar Rapids and Dubuque. Don't miss what happens at the 3-minute mark, the revelation that changes everything. Midnight arrival in Chicago creates nightmare scenarios for early Monday morning commuters. By 6 a.m. Monday, most of lower Michigan will be under heavy snow warnings. This is not just lake effect snow. This is a continental Arctic air mass invasion. School districts are already planning emergency closures, some for the entire week starting Monday. Hospitals canceling elective surgeries and preparing for hypothermia emergency cases. Emergency responders switching to tracked vehicles and cold weather rescue protocols. The National Weather Service is considering unprecedented warning classifications. Current terminology simply doesn't capture the magnitude of what's approaching. They're discussing extreme cold emergency designations never used before in the continental United States. But the most dangerous aspect isn't the snow, it's the temperature plunge that follows each storm. The first invasion hits this weekend, heavy snow rates reaching 2 inches per hour. Tuesday's Arctic invasion brings even colder air, temperatures 15 degrees lower than this weekend's system. Minneapolis could see actual air temperatures of minus 25 degrees for 48 straight hours. Chicago wind chills approaching minus 35 degrees during Tuesday's morning commute. This level of cold hasn't been experienced in populated Midwest areas since 1996, when natural gas systems failed across Illinois. When water mains burst from Chicago to Detroit. Rolling blackouts may be necessary to prevent total power grid collapse under extreme demand. Utility companies are already moving emergency crews into position across affected regions, but resources are stretched thin from recent winter storm damage across the plains. Adding Arctic disaster response could overwhelm emergency management systems regionally. Federal disaster declarations are already being prepared by FEMA officials. The second invasion arrives next Tuesday, even colder air mass from the North Pole. The National Guard positioning snow removal equipment and emergency supply distribution center. Mass casualty plans activating at trauma centers across the upper Midwest corridor. Blood banks stockpiling emergency supplies in case transportation becomes impossible. Some smaller communities could become completely cut off for extended periods. Rural areas should stock up on at least 2 weeks of emergency supplies immediately. Water pipes will freeze when temperatures drop below zero for more than 12 hours. Let faucets drip continuously starting tonight. Open cabinet doors under sinks to circulate warm air. Burst pipes cause thousands of dollars in damage within hours of initial freezing. Know where your main water shutoff valve is located and how to operate it safely. Carbon monoxide poisoning cases spike 300% during extended power outages from improper heating. The third invasion is the most dangerous of all, carrying Siberian air that hasn't moved south in decades. Never run generators inside homes, garages, or basements under any circumstances. Keep generators at least 20 feet away from any doors, windows, or ventilation openings. Check smoke detector batteries today. Have flashlights and battery-powered radios ready. Charge all electronic devices to full capacity. Power grids may fail under extreme heating demand. Stock up on non-perishable food for at least 1 week of potential isolation. Fill every available container with drinking water before municipal systems potentially freeze. Buy batteries, flashlights, and portable chargers today. Stores will be empty by Monday morning. Get cash from ATMs while they still function. Credit card systems fail when power goes out. Fill all prescriptions immediately and stock up on critical medications for family members. The third Arctic invasion arrives next Friday, and it's carrying the coldest air of all.